Hi, my name's Allison, and here's a true story about me. I was never what you might call one of the beautiful people, not like my best friend, Shona, who's everything I'm not. While I'm on the plump side, short, mousy, and wear glasses, Shona is tall, blonde, and beautiful. Still, we're good friends, and I try not to let the obvious differences come between us. Every Friday night, a group of us head down to the ice skating rink. To be honest, I'm not much of a skater, and I usually spend more time on the floor than skating. At least it gets me out of the house. Dad has a new girlfriend, Avril, and I don't think she likes me. She's much younger than my dad and always criticizing how I look, which makes me feel worse than ever about myself. Shona is always first onto the ice. She's elegant and spins around like a ballerina. I don't mind. I enjoy people watching. I can see Sam Reeves on the ice. I've had a crush on him for years, but like everyone else, he doesn't seem to notice me. And besides, he has a girlfriend. You see, I'm not a very social person. I have this low self-esteem. I've had a few knockbacks from boys, and these days I'm always wary of opening up to anyone new. Anyway, on this particular night, I sat sipping a Diet Coke from a straw and watching the action when I see Tony Franklin. Now, Tony Franklin is an average-looking guy, but has a reputation with the girls. I've never really thought about him before. My crush on Sam is all-consuming. "Hey, Allison, how's it going?" He flashes me this great big smile, and I suddenly know why so many girls fall for him. He stares into my eyes as if I'm the only girl in the world. Tony starts talking to me, and after my initial shock, I start to loosen up a little. His charm is definitely getting to me. I feel honored that someone is interested in little old me. For once in a long time, I start to feel relaxed, and my defenses start to crumble a little. Later on, me and some of the guys are going to grab a burger. Do you want to come? His request comes out of the blue, and I pinch my hand to check if I'm dreaming. Nope, definitely not dreaming. A boy has just asked me out on a date. Well, sort of. I can feel my heart start to beat a little faster. Well, a lot faster, actually. He might not be Sam Reeves, but he makes me feel special. Perhaps your friend Shona would like to come too? His question is like a slap in the face. So that's it. I should have guessed. Tony's not interested in me at all. He's after Shona. It's silly, but suddenly I feel betrayed. So angry. I'd let my defenses down, allowed a moment of weakness, and had been used. He must think I'm stupid or something. Suddenly, I feel myself standing, which isn't easy when you're wearing ice skating boots, but I try to look as dignified as possible. I don't think I've ever felt as humiliated in my life, not even with my dad's new girlfriend. And in a fit of rage, I throw the Diet Coke straight into his face. "That's what I think of you and your burger. Have a nice time with Shona." I stagger off toward the changing rooms with tears in my eyes. Shona is a good friend and comes to join me in the changing rooms. She asks what's wrong, but I feel so stupid that I don't tell her. It's not her fault that guys prefer her to me. I tell her that I don't feel well, and she walks me home. I see Tony Franklin watching us, and I want to stick 2 fingers up at him. His little plan to use me has backfired tonight. When I get home, I go straight to my room. Dad and Avril are out, as usual. He never went out as much with Mom. Dad's not been the same since Mom died 3 years ago. I think that's about the time I started to pile on the weight. I was so unhappy. Dad was in a mess, too. I wanted him to find someone else, but not someone like Avril. Whenever Avril and I argue, which is most of the time, Dad always takes her side. It's just not fair. I hardly sleep that night, and the sounds of Dad and Avril making out in the next room doesn't help much. Gross. I stay in my room all weekend, moping about. I don't want to go to college on Monday, and I try to keep out of Tony's way. I rush back home from college without waiting for Shona. I don't want to speak to anyone, just want to be safe and on my own again. As soon as I walk into the house, I can tell that something's changed. The living room seems tidier than usual. It takes me a moment to notice. All Mom's pictures have been taken down. All her photos and the ornaments she collected, all gone, as if she had never existed. Avril is sat reading a magazine on the sofa and looks up at me rather triumphantly. You're home early, Allison. I feel the anger start to rise. Where are Mom's photos? She puts down the magazine rather carefully onto the sofa and folds her arms. Your dad and I thought it would be better if we got rid of all the things from the past. A fresh start, you know? I look at her in disbelief. How dare you remove my mother's things? I spit the words out at her. Avril sighs and looks at me with her steely blue eyes. Your dad and I thought it would be for the best. Dad would never agree to this. I shake my head in disbelief. At that moment, Dad comes out of the kitchen and immediately stands with Avril, placing his arms protectively around her. What's going on? He asks as if he doesn't know. Dad, where are all of Mom's things? Now listen, Allie, don't get upset. We just thought it was for the best. How dare you, Dad? How dare you forget about Mom like this? It's all her doing. Where are Mom's things? I point to Avril, my arms shaking with rage. They're in the kitchen, Dad starts. Look, Allie, there's something I need to tell you. Avril and I are getting married. I don't want to hear any more. And I rush into the kitchen and find the boxes of Mom's stuff. Oh, Mom. I cry over the boxes before taking them up to my room. I can't bear the thought of being in the same house as Dad and Avril. And as soon as I have my mom's things stored safely under my bed, I rush back outside. I don't have anywhere to go, but I start walking. Hey, a voice calls after me about halfway down the street. I don't look around. I know that voice. It's Tony. I walk quickly, but soon I hear footsteps running behind to catch up to me. Hey, stop a minute. What's the matter? I don't want to talk to anyone, especially not Troy Franklin, but somehow he keeps up with me. And we walk to the park. I wish he'd leave me alone, but I'm too upset to talk. I make my way down to the lake to sit on a bench, and Tony sits next to me. What are you doing here, Tony? He shrugs. You seemed upset. I was worried about you. I looked up into his eyes. He looked genuinely concerned, but all I can feel is anger and hate. This is the guy that humiliated me. His face is close to mine, and I want to reach out and slap him, but then I have another idea. I put my face up to his and kiss him. If he can use me, then I can use him. I can feel his surprise, but then I feel his arms around me, and his lips embrace mine. His lips are soft and warm, but it wasn't quite the reaction I was expecting. I wanted to shock Tony, and I quickly pull away and stand up. Just leave me alone, Tony. I hate you. I can feel his eyes on me as I walk away. I managed to keep my distance from Tony for a whole week. Occasionally, I see him at college, but I always turn in the opposite direction. The sight of him disturbs me, and somehow I can't forget that kiss. It's about 2 weeks later, on a Saturday night at the local disco, when I bump into him again. I have not spoken a word to my dad or Avril since the day they moved Mom's things, and it's really frosty back home. It's toward the end of the evening when I notice him. I've been sat at the bar with my Diet Coke watching Sam having a row with his girlfriend. I'm so intent on trying to listen to what they're saying over the music that I don't notice Tony lurching toward me. He's drunk. Ellie, he slurs, I've been looking for you. I try and ignore him, but he won't go away and plonks himself on the chair next to me. Will you join me? He sways toward the bar. I cross my arms and scowl at him. Don't you think you've had enough? What would your dad say? Tony's dad is a police officer, and Tony would be in for it if he was caught. To my surprise, he slams his fist down on the bar. My dad can go to hell. I hate him. His words strike home to me, and for a moment, I feel almost empathy for this boy I've grown to hate. Why? What's wrong? I ask, genuinely concerned. Tony puts his head in his hands. You wouldn't understand. Try me? I challenge back. Then it all comes out. He starts telling me how his mom and dad are always arguing and how he hates to go home. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be telling you all this. I gotta go. He stands, and against my better nature, I grab hold of his arm, feeling a sudden rush of sympathy for the guy. Hey, there's no need to... Tony turns toward me, a strange look in his eye. Ellie, Before he can finish his sentence, he lurches forward and grabs me in a passionate and drunken embrace. His lips find mine and crush against me. I'm full of mixed emotions. The guy I hate most in the world is kissing me, and he's drunk, but I feel a slight tingle of pleasure. What on earth is going on? I struggle to get away, but he holds me tight in his arms. Tony! Tony! I beat at his back as he staggers about with me in his arms until he finally topples over and crashes to the floor, taking me with him. Hey, are you okay? A hand reaches over to pull me upright. I look up, and it's Sam Reeves. Is this guy bothering you? He asks. We both look down at Tony, lying spread eagle on the floor. He's a sorry sight, a right mess. Come on, I'll walk you home. Sam takes my arm and leads me out of the bar. I can hardly believe it. Sam Reeves is walking me home. It's a beautiful, starlit night, and as we walk, Sam tells me that he's split with Anna, his long-term girlfriend. Apparently, they've been rowing too much. I listen in silence as he unburdens himself. It's been one of those nights. As we approach my house, Sam stops and gazes at me. You know, Allie, he says, you're one of those girls that I can really talk to. Not like Anna, she never really listened. And then he kisses me. I've laid in bed 100 times imagining Sam kissing me, and as his lips touch mine, I wait for the explosion in my heart, the fireworks in the sky. But it doesn't happen. His lips are soft and warm, but I don't get the thrill I imagined. The strange thing is, all I can think about is that kiss with Tony. Damn him. I hate him. He's even ruined this moment for me. Sam says goodnight, and we make a date for the following week. There's going to be a big end-of-term party on Friday night, and Sam asks me to be his partner. I can hardly believe it. All week I spend getting ready. It's the event of the college year, and I want to look my best for Sam. Shona helps. She's so pleased for me, and lends me a dress to wear. I have my hair and nails done, and by the time Friday comes, I can hardly wait. As I look at myself in the mirror, I can't help smiling to myself. The ugly duckling seems to be turning into a swan after all. Coming down the stairs, Dad sees me and stops, his eyes misting over. We've hardly spoken over the last few weeks. Hey, Allie, you look gorgeous, just like your mom. He comes and hugs me, and it seems like the first father and daughter moment we've had since Mom died. Maybe we can work something out after all. Sam picks me up in his car, and I'm so proud. He even bought me a corsage and pins it proudly on my dress. The first person I see when we enter the sports hall is Tony. He looks smart, almost handsome, and something shifts in my heart. I guess that I'm just feeling sorry for him. He smiles, but because I'm with Sam, he doesn't come over. I notice there's no significant other on his arm, which is unlike Tony. It's a great night. We laugh and dance, but something's not right, and I find that at moments I'm looking around the room trying to see where Tony is. It's ridiculous, and I try and pull myself back to the moment. I'm with Sam Reeves, my dream date, but it's not enough. Towards the end of the night, I notice that Sam is distracted too. It's almost time for the last dance, and he seems agitated. Allie, are you all right? Are you having a good time? He asks me. I smile. Of course, Sam. I'm having a great time. Is that why you keep looking out for Tony? He states. I shake my head, start to deny it, but what's the use? Sam has hit the nail on the head. Only one person has been on my mind all night. Tony Franklin. I'm sorry, Sam. You've been so kind. He just smiles. Well, I've got a confession. I've realized that I still love Anna, and I must go and find her. Would you mind? I shake my head, almost relieved when Sam walks away. I'm alone again, just like before. I glance around the room, but Tony is still nowhere in sight. He's probably kissed half the female population already. I don't want to be here for the last dance, and I head for the cloakroom when a hand grabs my arm. Hey, where are you going? I turn around to see Tony. I just bumped into Sam, he says. You said you were looking for me? Without another word, he leads me onto the dance floor as the slow and smoochy love song starts up. My heart is beating fast and my whole body tingles. So this is what love feels like when it finally comes. Tony reaches forward and kisses me. A slow, lingering kiss. And this time, I know it's for real.
Hi, my name's Andy, and my love story goes against any expectations I might have had for my first ever relationship. That's a common saying, right? Well, in my case, it was really different because I ended up calling the cops on my own girlfriend for something that wasn't her fault. Hear me out. I'll explain from the beginning. When I was in high school, I finally had a chance to talk to the girl I'd been pining for since kindergarten. Leah was everything I'm not. She was pretty, popular, everyone wanted to be her friend. And I was just that average guy that keeps a low profile. But somehow, she noticed me. We were lab partners, and we got along really well. Eventually, we were hanging out after school almost every afternoon. However, things didn't go that smooth afterwards. You see, I didn't exactly have any money, and as our relationship progressed, I found myself feeling more and more anxious every day. I knew Leah loved gifts and all, but I couldn't do that for her. So instead of fancy restaurants for dates, we went to fast food restaurants. Instead of nights out at the movies, we were watching TV shows on my couch. So I always wondered how long she was going to stick around with me. When junior prom came around, I was in a panic. I couldn't afford a suit, so I had to wear nice pants and a hand-me-down jacket that was 3 sizes too big. I couldn't even afford a corsage for Leah, so I went out and picked some wildflowers to put in a wire. But when Leah arrived and saw my DIY corsage, she loved it. She then handed over a brand new suit. I think my jaw actually hit the floor. The suit had the $400 tag still on it. I told Leah I couldn't accept it, but she insisted. As we danced at prom, I couldn't help but wonder, where had Leah got the money from? As the months went on, anything I wanted or needed, Leah would provide for me. And by anything, I mean anything. From school books to a brand new phone. My initial reaction was to be excited and grateful, but I knew something was not right. What was she doing to earn all this money? Later on, things escalated even further. Leah started showing up in super expensive clothes, so much so that it was getting ridiculous. And whenever I asked her about it, she said that her dad or rich grandma had given her the money. Leah didn't have a rich grandma, nor a father that could afford to spend like that. The worrying had become so overwhelming that I decided to do something about it. I'm not exactly proud of what I did. One day, when Leah wasn't home, I climbed through her bedroom window. I looked through her drawers, under her bed, and at first, everything looked normal. But then I opened the closet. A flood of clothing and electronics tumbled out like an avalanche. They all had price tags on them. I sat in the mound of clothing, utterly dumbfounded. And that's when Leah opened the door. She stuttered, horrified to see me sitting there. I didn't justify why I was there. Instead, I demanded to know what was happening. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she confessed her secret. She was addicted to shoplifting. Leah ran into my arms as she started crying even more. This was wrong, very wrong. But she was my girlfriend. And I had to help her. You'd think that after her confession, things would have started to make sense. But not really, because I soon found out that she was lying to cover up something even worse. At first, I believed her. I promised that I would get her the help she needed, and that then she would never steal again. She seemed to agree with everything I said, but something still felt wrong. It seemed like Leah was always on edge, always running on not enough sleep. I worried at first if her job in the nursing home was becoming too much, until I saw her unexpectedly at the grocery store. She didn't see me in the parking lot. I watched her for a bit, thinking about how lucky I was to have her. But that's when I saw what was in her trunk. Mounds and mounds of expensive items with the tags still on them. My sweet moment of gratitude crashed and burned. Leah was stealing again. I felt so angry. Every bit of trust I had in her disintegrated at that moment. I wanted to storm over, to yell at her. But I knew better. Calling her out on her actions wasn't going to do any good. I had to catch her in the act. I had to make it real. So I made a hard decision. For a few nights, I tried to make plans to hang out with her and she made excuses. It seemed like every night it was a cousin's birthday or a night out with friends, but her actions told a whole different story. I expected her to be going to stores at night, but she always ended up at the nursing home she volunteered at. The worst part? She would park down the street and then climb in a window. If you have to climb in a window to do anything, that's a dead giveaway that you probably shouldn't be doing whatever it is you're doing. I sat outside, completely lost, racking my brain to try and figure out what the heck was going on. I knew she didn't work the night shift, so what on earth was she doing there? Obviously, her boss and coworkers wouldn't approve of whatever it was. Each night, I'd watch as she walked out, smiling and holding a handful of cash. It had to be hundreds of dollars. My mind was going a million miles an hour. How is she getting money like that from a nursing home? Was she selling stolen goods to the elderly people there? Was she buying and selling medication to people in there? Whatever she was doing, I had to put a stop to it. Her 18th birthday was just around the corner, and the very real possibility that she could actually go to jail and be charged as an adult for stealing was only a few weeks away. I had to talk to her. I had to give her one more chance. I told Leah I saw her in the nursing home, and she went really quiet. We talked about how she was 18 soon, and she told me she was embarrassed. She told me she would try to stop, and honestly, it didn't make me feel any better. I had heard her say this for what felt like years. But unfortunately, things only started to get worse. Leah began to look absolutely exhausted. She barely texted me. She barely called. I went to the nursing home a few nights to look for her, and sure enough, one rainy night, I found her there. I couldn't sit outside and watch anymore. I stormed out of my car, slammed the door, and followed her usual path and through the window. To say the inside of the building was terrifying is an understatement. Everything was pitch black. I tiptoed forward, grasping the wall to try and guide myself. A sliver of light from a nearby room finally came into view. Inside there were strange whispers and laughing. What had Leah gotten into? It was Leah's 18th birthday in 3 days. What was going to happen if she got caught in 4 days, in 5, in 6? She would go to jail. She would get a record. Her life would be over. I had tried therapy. I tried to get her help. She went back to stealing every single time. Maybe getting caught would be the best thing for her. What if that was the only way she would stop? I dialed 911 into my phone, but I couldn't get caught. I had to see behind the door. I had to confirm my worst fears. I summoned up all my courage. I sucked in a deep breath, prepared for anything. Threw open the door, and suddenly realized I hadn't actually been prepared for anything. Leah was sat with a bunch of elderly people. She was sitting in the front. It looked like she was in charge of a bingo game. Leah saw me and immediately turned bright red. She was playing bingo? I asked her what the heck was going on, and she looked near tears. She told me she had started playing with the patients when she began working here. They seemed lonely, and it had been a fun little hobby at first, but then she found a way to make money off it. They played for money, and she made sure she won each time. And if not, she got someone to win for her and they split the money. She was embarrassed. She told me her cool friends made fun of her for even volunteering here. If they found out that she was actually friends with them and playing bingo with them, she would never hear the end of it. When I came into the room and found her, she just went along with it. She had gotten so caught up in her life about being a thief that she couldn't even change her story now. I don't know if I should have been mad, but I wasn't. I laughed. She had lied, and that was horrible. But I had almost just called the cops on my girlfriend for playing bingo with elderly people. We had a lot of discussions after that, about our relationship, about how I value her for the cool and not so cool things she does. But she's not embarrassed anymore about not having a lot of money. Have you ever been in a similar situation like this before, where you had to make a difficult decision to help someone you care about? Tell us in the comment section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.